I'm Bill O'Reilly. Thanks for watching us tonight. Nancy Pelosi going to the aid of the grievance industry. That is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. Today, the House Democratic Steering and Policy Committee, headed by Mrs. Pelosi, held hearings entitled A Conversation on Race and Justice in America. The problem, there wasn't much diversity in that hearing. In fact, the three panelists, Morris Dees, Eugene Robinson, and Maya Wiley, are all very far-left people who believe America is essentially an unjust country. So the hearing was a farce, a waste of taxpayer money, and a way to stick it to the USA again. The problem with this kind of propaganda is that many people believe it, especially overseas, where they don't understand what the race hustle is all about. A congressional hearing carries some weight, and folks not familiar with the players can take away a wrong impression. That's why the fallout from the Zimmerman verdict is so damaging. The world is forming an impression of America by listening to stuff like this.
I think this is, for many Americans, George, just another piece of evidence of the incontrovertible contempt that this nation often shows and displays for black men.
They are already suspicious of you because you are walking while black, which apparently is a crime in this country.
I think it's possible. If the police had got a black Zimmerman, the question would be whether they would have beat him to death and then threw handcuffs on him and dragged him into the precinct.
I didn't sleep for 2 days. You know, I was really angry about it, that, you know, the thing that we all knew, it was still a bit of racism in America, but, like, you know, for it to be so blatant.
That's right, Jay-Z. America is blatantly racist. That's why you're a multimillionaire hobnobbing with President Obama, because we are a racist society. Good grief. Talking Points is fed up with this kind of misleading rhetoric. I believe the USA is basically a noble nation. We have our flaws, but there's no doubt that Americans are the most humane people on earth. Just look at what we give to other nations around the world, Haiti included. And our social system gives the most amount of people the best chance to pursue happiness. Otherwise, why would millions of folks be trying to sneak in here? Most of them minorities. It is long past time for honest people to call out the racial charlatans and to take exception to false statements. Yesterday, CNN anchor Don Lemon, who believes that African Americans should be proactive in solving their problems, was chastised by Sherri Shepherd on The View.
I think a lot of people took umbrage with that of, you know, because of Bill O'Reilly, because I don't want to give Bill O'Reilly a license to say anything because he's never been a young black man growing up in the situations that a lot of them grow up in.
So if Ms. Shepherd is honest, if she's honest, then she would have to keep quiet during 75% of the topics on The View, because she's not a white woman and can't possibly know that experience. How foolish is this? And it gets worse. Listen to Georgetown professor Michael Eric Dyson.
Mr. O'Reilly, I'd love to have that conversation about protecting yourself behind white picket fences and Fox News and having digital courage. Come in the streets where you went to Sylvia and you were surprised that black people don't throw bananas at each other or swing from trees.
Again, Tyson teaches young Americans at Georgetown University. Today's congressional hearing was a circus. Nancy Pelosi, the ringmaster. Didn't mean anything, but it did prop up the race hustlers. And that's a shame. And that's a memo. Now for the top.
A message from the Foundation for a Better Life.
Continuing now with our lead story, a House hearing on race held today, chaired by Nancy Pelosi. With us, Monica Crowley and Alan Combs. So I assume that both of you are concerned about the state of race relation. You're both concerned?
Yes.
You're concerned?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
Yes, we are.
So I'm concerned. So we're all concerned. So that means we would have been qualified to go to the hearing and be concerned with everybody else who was concerned. This is just one big joke, is it not, this congressional hearing?
I actually think it's more serious than a joke. I think what you saw today was the most destructive kind of political theater. You had every single witness was on the far left, as you noted. You didn't see Alan West, Thomas Sowell, Tim Scott, Clarence Thomas up there talking about race in America and how they have transcended all of the things that you've talked about, unemployment in the black community, drugs, gangs, out-of-wedlock births, how they all came from nothing to achieve, despite the so-called black leaders.
Barack Obama.
And Barack
the
Obama.
best
You
example.
didn't see any of it, although Barack Obama is one of these political opportunists who's going right down the road with the race hustlers. Al Sharpton is in that White House all the time.
Look, Barack Obama is the best example for the world on what our system really is. How a boy with no father, a hippie mom, all right, who traipses him around Indonesia as a kid, raised by grandparents in Hawaii, okay, can rise up to become the President of the United States. Now, this is the nation that's being now pummeled, Combs, by these demagogic exploiter race hustlers.
We're not being pummeled. We are having...
No, don't even say the word. Don't even say the word.
But we are,
you know what's happening
here. This is a legitimate issue that all sides need to weigh in on, which is why they should have had all sides at that hearing today. I mean, that certainly is true.
But the reason they didn't have it is because they're not interested in solving the problem. They're interested in keeping African Americans in a little box so that it'll be dependent on the system and vote Democratic. That's what it's all about.
That is the most cynical view, though.
That's the realistic view, because for 50 years...
You don't think that Democrats, like Barack Obama or like Nancy Pelosi, generally want to help people who are not empowered, who have not been part of the power structure?
That's an excellent question. I'm going to answer it, and I'm sorry to take up most of your airtime, but I'm going to answer that question because it is an excellent question. The guy who was really concerned about African Americans was Bobby Kennedy. He was the guy, and he was a Democrat as Attorney General, who really did something, all right? And he went in with the federal government, and he cleaned out the rat's nest that was abusing African Americans in the South. Since that time, there have been very few Democratic elected politicians who have come up with any solution or done anything to advance the cause of equality in America. What they want, Combs, is to keep the African American voting bloc dependent on the system. And therefore, they don't tackle education. They don't tackle crime. They don't tackle social chaos. And everybody knows it.
I'm with you on Robert Kennedy, but the rest is such a cynical view of the Democratic Party.
It's the truth. The truth may hurt.
There are people who genuinely want to make things better.
And the Republicans have done bupkis. They haven't done anything either. Okay.
Well, they're busy trying to overturn health care for the 38th time.
They don't believe they're going to win the African-American vote anyway, so they just withdraw from the field. Go ahead.
This gets to my earlier point about President Obama. In 2008, when he was running on Father's Day that year, he gave an extraordinary speech directed to mostly black men, but also to the wider black community, about staying with your family, about personal responsibility, about education, don't do drugs. It was a phenomenal speech. We haven't heard a peep from him on these issues in the last 5 years.
He hasn't led on the issue.
He gave an extraordinary...
Wait a minute. He has had an extraordinary opportunity as the first black president to address this, and
but he doesn't want to be seen as a black president.
Well, that's not true.
Wait a minute.
If I could just weigh in, please.
Let Combs
breaking the lock of dependency and keeping the black community.
He gave an extraordinary speech 2 Fridays ago when he talked about what it's like being a black man in America.
Alan, that was total pandering. That wasn't an inspired speech.
For the first time, really personalizing based on his own experiences, which only he could have given that speech. That was an extraordinary speech on the issue of race.
Let's get off the president for a moment. What do you think when you hear a Jay-Z, all right, say what he just said to the world, all right, about we're blatantly racist in this country, when this guy peddles garbage to youth, both black and white, makes millions of dollars doing it, is invited to the White House, and he's peddling this piece of garbage?
Well, he doesn't speak for all black people.
No, but what do you think about that?
Well, I'm not a big, I don't really know what he peddles because I'm not a big consumer of what he peddles. So, but the fact is, he's one guy. He doesn't represent the black community.
And I'm not even going to let you weigh in on him because I
actually like his music, but I'm with you on the messaging. There has to be some broader responsibility here.
All right. Thank you both.
You're welcome.
By the way, if you want to know what I've said in the past about race in America and why I feel so strongly about the issue, check out my book, Keep It Pithy, Chapter 3. It's all there. Directly ahead.